On the occasion of the new year in 2022, the Workers' Party identified cost of living as a major pressure point for low to middle income families. For the purposes of this motion, the Workers' Party will look into possibilities of further reducing cost of living pressures by way of policy change. This House must leave no stone unturned because for some Singaporeans, this has become a cost of living crisis. The Workers' Party believes that we should continue to look beyond short-term relief in addressing this cost of living crisis and to relook at prevailing orthodoxies on other schemes so as to lower costs for Singaporeans and their families. A few of the proposals will put cash in the hands of vulnerable workers and seniors to help them navigate their way out of this difficult period, for example, by reviewing with a fresh perspective both MediSave as well as the Workfare Income Supplement. A few other proposals may prompt behavioral shifts towards greater efforts to reduce wastage and more sensitivity to sustainable usage of utilities such as water and electricity. At their core, all the proposals prompt the government to relook at its legacy policy with an eye on battling the cost of living crisis that Singaporeans find themselves deeply mired in.
It is unclear whether consumers will benefit from the liberalization of the electricity market, and if so, to what extent? What then are the other options for managing household electricity bills? So far, a large part of the government's answer has been to distribute YouSave vouchers, mainly to HDB households. While YouSave vouchers are useful, they are effectively taxpayer subsidies for certain types of households. As a complement to these measures, the government could review its electricity tariff structures. In particular, I would ask the government again to consider implementing a tiered pricing structure for household consumers. Further, or alternatively, the government should consider a pricing structure that is based on time of use that discourages electricity consumption at peak hours. Both of these have the potential to lower electricity costs for consumers.
Some may argue that cars in Singapore are a luxury, and a car-like society is both better for the environment and more than made up by an excellent public transportation system. Surely, the price of COEs are only the concern of an elite few. But for middle-income families with younger children, as so many of my Sengkang residents are, a car is almost a necessity for getting kids to and from childcare and school, co-curricular activities, enrichment classes, and weekend shopping trips. Similarly, those who are elderly or less mobile. I believe that the recent cyclical highs in COE prices has come at an inopportune time and has contributed to already rising cost of living. The existing VQS COE system is broken, and while the government has made tweaks to the system, these do not address the true underlying problem that has led to boom-bust cycles in COE prices. Let's not ignore the most important driver of supply, the imbalanced monthly quota, and some of the most prominent sources of demand from PHCs and wealthier multi-couple car buyers. Let's better manage the COE system, an important driver of the rising cost of living.
Public transport costs are also a contributor to the cost of living in Singapore, making up 2.5% of MAS core inflation basket. Over the last 10 years, the rate of increase in bus and train fares has been faster than that of core inflation. In the 2023 fare review exercise, the Public Transport Council's fare adjustment formula produced a whopping 22.6% fare increase, although the PTC chose to cap it at 7%. This decision, though, led to the government providing an additional subsidy to public transport operators to the tune of about $300 million in 2023, up from $200 million the year before. This subsidy still does not eliminate the remaining 15.6% of fare increase, which the PTC has deferred to future reviews. We need to move beyond one-time fiscal handouts and explore possible structural changes to existing policies to reduce cost of living expenses for Singaporeans. It is therefore timely to revisit the proposal to establish a National Transport Corporation, or NTC. This was first proposed by the Workers' Party in 2006. We envisaged the NTC as a publicly owned, non-profit, multimodal land transport entity, which will oversee the planning and operation of all MRT, LRT, and trunk bus services in Singapore.
I hope the current means testing formula can be further improved upon to take into account the specifics of an individual's financial situation, particularly his or her cash flow and health condition, and make healthcare more affordable and accessible for all. More help should be extended to adults with special needs or other forms of disability who are in the working adult age group but are unable to work and requires part of full-time care from family members, especially families where the parents are getting on in age.
The continued cost of living crisis facing us has had an impact on our mental and physical health in the near term and also has long-term impacts on our health and development as we grow and age. We need to take steps now to help hardworking families already struggling to juggle their household balance sheets confidently deal with increases in the cost of care, health, preventative and social care, so that it does not become an insurmountable burden. With immediate cost of living pressures upon us, can the ministry share details about the qualitative and quantitative impact of the current cost of living crisis has had on the ability of households to pay for ILTC needs? And what are the plans to ensure that they do not fall through the cracks and have to dial down on ILTC arrangements?
My esteemed WP colleagues have filed the original motion regarding the cost of living in Singapore at a time when many Singaporeans continue to feel the resulting pressures. The impact has been especially severe on lower-income households, which I believe the government is to be aware of. I welcome the support measures that have been announced to date towards alleviating some of these pressures, such as the top-ups to the payouts under the assurance package, the CDC vouchers, public transport vouchers, etc. These measures are meant to bolster the existing social safety net. The social safety net which exists in Singapore is multi-layered, which the government referred to previously as a kuih lapis, with each layer meant to tackle a specific area of need. It is an approach meant to prevent dependency, free riding, and abuse of the various measures in place. I also note that Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong had recently said that Comlink would be enhanced towards helping families in non-financial ways, such as coaching. This is meant to aid social mobility and prevent further social stratification. Having all these systems in place is well and good. However, I believe it's also important that we establish a means of assessing the effectiveness of our social safety net. To this end, I would like to reiterate a call I first made back in 2014, calling for Singapore to adopt the International Labour Organization's ILO Social Protection Framework.
Unlike many countries where core inflation is defined as that excluding food and energy costs, Singapore excludes accommodation and private road transport costs, which, according to the MAS, and I quote, are excluded as they tend to be significantly influenced by supply-side administrative policies and are volatile, unquote. While I accept that the MAS core inflation measure is used for monetary policy decisions, a person without knowledge of the technicalities will nonetheless find reports of a return to price stability as being different compared to the lived experience. My speech today will primarily touch on housing, and as rightly pointed out by the MAS, is significantly influenced by supply-side administrative policies. Hence, we need to take a closer look at our supply-side policies to ensure prices are well managed.